very easy to get. I'll just quickly show you how in 1 second. My website is learnmore365.com. I'm signed in. Signing in is for free. Of course, you can create an account for free. Click on free resources. That'll take you to the free resource library. You can scroll down. You can filter the resources using these little categories on the side. So I'm going to click on research and stats. Here's the statistics cheat sheet. Click on download and boom shakalaka. There you go. So let's look at how we can apply the t-test in this example, right? We've measured the average weight of men and the average weight of women in the sample that we've got, and we've seen that there's a difference. Now that difference could be real, or it could just be by chance. It might just be a fluke. We may have taken a sample that happens to have a difference that's not really representative of the wider population. So how do we decide the extent to which we can have confidence in this sample that we've got? Well, we make an assumption. Let's assume that there's no difference in the real population, right? That we can't really see. We're not going to measure everybody. But let's assume that it's the case, that in actual fact, there's no difference in the weight of men and women in the population. If that were true, how likely would it be that we would have gotten a sample that shows the difference that we've observed? And that is exactly what the t-test will tell you. It'll tell you the probability of, by chance, getting a sample that shows this difference, if it were the case that in actual fact, in reality, there was in fact no difference. So if the p-value is very small, we can say it's very unlikely, right? Because there's a small probability that the null hypothesis is true, that there is no difference in the weight of men and women. So we can reject it. We can say we don't believe it. We don't have confidence in that idea. And if we can reject the null hypothesis, we then can accept that in actual fact, in the population from where the sample came, there is a difference in the weight of men and women. And that's how the t-test works. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Let's keep going. Boom shakalaka. Now let's talk about the ANOVA kind of in its simplest form. This is the analysis of variance. Essentially, it's asking the same kind of question as the t-test, but in this case, you've got a categorical variable with more than two categories. Or you could do it for two, but for two or more categories. So let's say we've looked at the weight of people in 3 countries, right? America, Britain, and Russia. And in our sample population, we've observed that there is a difference. We've conducted an ANOVA test. We get a p-value that tells us that if it were the case that in actual fact, the weight of people in all 3 countries was exactly the same, it would be very unlikely, the p-value, very unlikely that we would have seen the difference that we did in our sample. So we can reject the null hypothesis and we can accept the fact that there is a difference.